Well, welcome to the week 3 recording for Java programming. You can see that week 3 is November 4th through 8th. And in week 3, we're in the arrays unit. Of course, you have the week 3 write-up that you'll do. Then you have a dynamic array, or then you have an arrays quiz, dynamic arrays program, classification of arrays quiz, an array list quiz. We skip the discussions, a sorting quiz, a searching quiz, and an array unit project. So that's the work for this week. Now, a couple of notes, and I've talked to a few of you about this. We're all getting extremely frustrated with trying to get the Java development kit downloaded, setting the path, compiling programs. I worked with 3 students last night for about 45 minutes, and it's just really frustrating because we all have different operating systems. Things just don't seem to work right. So I'm anticipating revising this course tremendously. So for now, don't worry about the dynamic arrays program or the array unit project, but go ahead and do all the write-up and do the quizzes for this unit. And I'll let you know what direction this course is going to go. But my frustration is related to the fact that they require us to download these programs that have updates different from how the course is written, directions different from how the course is written, because the courses aren't updated continually like software downloads are updated. So anyway, that's my 2 bits about this, but just hang in there with me, and nobody's going to get penalized for it. You're not going to lose any points for being behind, and I'll get this all resolved. All right, let's go into the write-up. So in the write-up, so we're all about arrays. So let's go into the week 3 write-up. And in section A, why would you use an array in a program? What is the main advantage of using an array? So let's just start here. So talking about arrays, of course, arrays, this has an example here. It says if you want to go shopping for materials for a school project, you'd write down the supplies you need, maybe need to write down the stores you need to go to. So you end up with a list that's divided into different pieces so that you can better organize the shopping you have. Well, that's how arrays work. Arrays give you organizing tools for different information that's related. So like here's an array of a bunch of names. Here's an array of a bunch of numbers. So again, it's things that are related, and essentially you put them in a table. And in this unit, we're going to understand what an array is and use an array, define and declare, store and retrieve data in an array. As I always say, don't worry about these. Always go to the grade book to see the work and the points assigned for each of the assignments. This activity has you write down a list of items and things, so it kind of gets you thinking in terms of an array. All right, section A. We need to go back to the write-up questions because that's where they actually start. Why would you use an array in a program? What is the main advantage of using an array? So you can see that an array, we learned this before, arrays always start at 0. So the first item in an array is always going to be item 0. So like here, if we have an array of 4 numbers right here, the number 1 is going to be in the 0 spot. The number 2 is going to be in the 1 spot. Number 3 is going to be in the 2 spot. So, and this array is 10 long. You can see that because it goes from 0 through 9. So you can create an array this way, or you can do it much more simply right here. So what this is doing, this is creating an array of 4 spots for integers. Now in this section, we're going to understand and create arrays, store and fetch items in an array. So we're going to look at this code again, and as you go through this on your own, you're going to want to take a look at each of these. So the square brackets specify the size of the array. So you can see up here, so we have the square bracket specifies the size of the array. Now if you do it this way, you don't need to have the square bracket. And there are keywords in arrays like int for integer. And indexing into an array. So this is just saying in the above array, what value is the second index? So if we look at this array up here, the second index is this one, and the value in that index is 3. Now, why use an array? Well, you use an array anytime you have the need to store many data items with the same data type. So anytime you have to store a bunch of numbers that are related or a bunch of names that are related, that's why you would use an array. Like this is an array of salaries for a company, and this array has 5 items. You can see the 5 items. So every employee that gets paid $12,000, they're in the 0 spot. Every employee that gets paid $23,000 is in the 1 spot, etc. So that's how arrays are set up. We go back to the write-up question, and it says, why would you use an array? We talked about that. What is the main advantage of using an array? So we haven't gotten to that yet. So creating array, we looked at that already, some of the ideas behind it. So this is how you would do, this is the syntax for it. And here's an example down here. So you can see that this is going to be an array that has strings, so we know that that's going to be text, right, of people's names, employees' names, rather than numbers. You can see the variable name is employees, so employees is the variable name. How many values? Well, it says there's going to be 5 values, so 5 employees. And the index values, because it doesn't say what they are, and since there are 5, we know it's going to go from 0 to 4. So you can see that that has 5 values in it. Advantages of arrays. Well, there are many different advantages. So if you look down here, arrays help manage data because you don't need to create a unique variable. That's one. But down here, there are many different advantages to using arrays. And on that Class Connect write-up question, what is the main advantage of using an array? Really, the main advantage of using an array is you don't need to create a unique variable for each piece of data. That's really the main advantage of using an array. So here's a little multiple choice activity to see what you know about arrays. And here's a program. This program, what it does, it prints the numbers entered in an array in reverse order. You can see that it's calling it reverse array. And go through these questions and just see what these mean. What is the name of the class reverse array that we looked at up above? What is the name of the array declared? The array is called myArray. So you can see where they declare myArray. Yeah, myArray right here, they declare that. So make sure you go through these questions to find out what that program is actually doing. Identifying issues. So when you debug, so there's some sort of an error in here, find the error in the image that is preventing this program from running properly. And you can see that, and you probably noticed it, that this is set for 4 values, but then 5 values were entered, right? So that's going to be the error. So there's some change that needs to be made on that. Here's a practice activity. Write a program to store at least 5 values in an array and print any value greater than index 3. So they have you put the code in here, but then you can click right here to see your answers. And one thing you'll notice in this unit, it does that a lot. So you can just click right there to see what the answers are. So you'll go ahead and look at what the coding answer is for these certain problems to give you an idea about how array programming works. Okay, the arrays quiz, so you have that, and all the quiz previews right over here, all the quiz previews are together. Okay, let's go back to the write-up, and it's section B. In Java, what are the 2 types of arrays, and what would be the reason to use a dynamic array? So section B. So really, there are 2 types. There's one-dimensional or multi-dimensional. Now this also says like two-dimensional array, you can see it at the bottom, but obviously two-dimensional would also be the fall under the category of multi-dimensional, right? So really there are one-dimensional and multi-dimensional. So one-dimensional would be just if you had singular values. Multi-dimensional would be if you had multiple values. In this unit, we're going to look at classifications of arrays, write a two-dimensional array program, store and fetch from a dynamic array. Single-dimensional array, so you can see a little information about that, how to classify them. Here's a practice activity for a single-dimensional array. It says write a program to generate the first 20 numbers of Fibonacci series using an array. And you can go to Math World to learn about that. So you'd input the code there, you can click here to reveal the answer. And I'm not going to reveal, I want to give you a chance to do this if you want to. Now, two-dimensional arrays, and I'm going to go back to the write-up to see what our next question was. I've forgotten that, sorry. What would be the reason to use a dynamic? Okay, so we need to wait till we get to dynamic. So two-dimensional arrays is we have two sets of data. So you have to define the whole matrix. So you're going to have a matrix is like a table. So that's what you're going to decide. So if you look at this, you can see that this is going to have two different variables, and it's going to have the rows and columns. So that's a two-dimensional array. And then a multi-dimensional array, and this is, again, is an example of how to do those types of arrays. So this would be 5 rows and 11 columns in this array. And the variable is marks. So this would be like if you're doing a grading, you're going to probably do some grading, keep track of grades for people or something like that. Classification of arrays. So here's a program of arrays, and you can see that they've set up the arrays, and then they've put all these sets of values in there. And go through these questions and read the questions and then analyze this to see what the answers are on those. Here's a practice with two-dimensional arrays. So you can give that a try if you want to, and then you can reveal the answer. Dynamic arrays. So what happens when you do not know how much data you will have? That's the use of a dynamic array. So when the array size can be altered during the program execution, that would be a dynamic array. So a dynamic array is used when you do not know how many items you're going to have. Here's a sample program, a couple of programs, and this uses inheritance. So this is creating an array, and then it gets inherited in the second program. So you would execute the program using JAVAC, and you can go down and read these notes, read the notes about the program, just give yourself a little bit of understanding of how the programs work. A program for a dynamic array, remember we're skipping that for now. Classification of arrays activity, you can go through and do that. And then the classification of arrays quiz. So again, quiz previews are all over here, all together. All right, section C, and of course we want to look at the write-up first. So in section C, what are two advantages of array lists? So section C. Programs are faced with this choice whether to use an array or an array list. It's dependent on the type of data that is going to be involved. One of the main differences between arrays and array lists is that arrays use primitive data types like numbers, and array lists use groups of objects. So if you know the number of data in your set, then you're going to use an array. But if it's not simple data, then you might use an array list. So we're going to look at defining an array list, declare an array list, explain the methods in an array list, and write a program using an array list. So overview of an array list. Let's go back to the write-up question. I've forgotten it already. What are the two advantages of array lists? So, this just talks about array lists and how array lists can be dynamic sets of information. And two advantages: it automatically increases the size when new data is added. It has methods for inserting, deleting, and searching elements. So you can add and subtract out of array lists very easily. But these are the two advantages of array lists. To create an array list, so syntax is similar to what we had with arrays, and as you know, the syntax has to be exact. So you can look right here, what is the name of the array list in this example? This array list is called my array list, because what they're saying is right here, create the array list called my array list. That's going to equal the new array list, which is the array list as you build it. There's an activity about array lists, so go through that. Array lists, some methods in array lists. There are lots of different methods or different things you can do within an array list. So you just want to get an idea of what some of these key terms are, some of these methods, and the activities that they do within an array list. Here's a sample program for an array list, so make sure you go through this, listen to the avatar explain it. You can also look at the copy of the script down below, just to get an understanding of uses of array lists. Here's a practice activity, so after you look at the previous screen, then you can look to see how you can insert items into an array list. Try that code, and then there's the answer to take a look at that. So array list quiz, you want to go through and complete the array list quiz, and the quiz previews are right there for you. All right, section D, and we need to go look at the write-up. So section D, we have define the term sorting as used in programming. What is the main purpose of sorting? Use your own words to describe how a bubble sort works. Which sorting method combines two or more sorted items into a third sorted list? So define the term sorting as used in programming. What is the main purpose of sorting? So section D. So think about it, how hard would it be to find somebody's phone number in a phone book if all the numbers were in random order? It would be impossible. So phone books are listed alphabetically, right? Rather than chronologically, which means like date order. So it makes it much more easy to search for things. So sorting is arranging items in order. Arranging items in a logical order. That's what sorting is. Arranging items in a logical order. So you can see that this has all this information here before sort, then after sort. If they did it alphabetically, then you can see how it's sorted. But sorting is arranging items in logical order. So we're going to look at how to sort an array in ascending and descending. Identify and use different types of sorting. Write a program to sort a set of items. And what sorting does is it helps reduce the search time. Because if things are sorted properly, then you can find what you need much more easily. Like in a library, you go book by book to find the right one if the books were not sorted properly. But of course, you have the Dewey Decimal System in a library where the books are numbered according to their category. We can just go right down the line based on the numbers. And so that's sorting of how library uses sorting. So many different types of sorting. There's bubble sorting. In a bubble sort, you look at each item and then you swap. So it continues till all the items in the array are compared. For example, in a bubble sort, you compare the numbers, and then if one number matches a certain number, or if one number is greater than a certain number, then that number continues, and then it compares to the third number, then whichever one is chosen out of that set compares to the fourth number, etc. So a bubble sort just compares individual items until it goes through the whole list. But you can see the different types of sorts in here. A selection source, insertion source, merge source. So what you want to do is read about those types of sorting. If we go back to the write-up, we talked about the main purpose of sorting. and use your own words to describe how bubble sort works, which method combines two or more sorted items into a third list. So you want to read about those different methods of sorting to answer those questions. There's a discussion on sorting. Well, we skip all the discussions in here. Sorting practice activities, you can go through that. Here's a bubble sort program. So the program sorts an array in ascending order using an iterative operation. So that iterative meaning a repeating operation. It compares each number in the array and then compares it to the one next to it. That's what a bubble sort does. Looks at each number and then compares it to the one next to it. If a number is less than the other, then they exchange places and they continue to compare. So you can take a look at some notes about this program and the different things that it does. Here's a sorting practice exercise. A sorting program, so write a program to arrange a set of numbers in descending order using a bubble sort. So you could try the code here and then you could click to reveal the answer there. All right, a sorting quiz. So do the quiz, make sure you do the quiz preview before you do the quiz. All right, section E now, right? Let's go back to the write-up. So in section E, this describes two main types of searches. So section E. Now we're going to get into searching. So once you have things sorted, then you can search for things more easily, right? And there are different types of searches that can be done. And the different types, there's a linear search and a binary search. And we're going to look at how those things are different. So we're going to understand searching, comprehend the types of searching techniques, use search techniques in programming. So linear search is sequential, meaning that it goes step by step. Linear is like the word line, so it just goes right down the line, one step right after another. So in a linear search, values are searched from the first one to the last one at a time until you find the right item. So that would be like if we went to the public library and things are not in order, we would just look at one book. Is that the one we want? No. Look at the second book. Is that the one we want? No. Look at the third book. Is that the one we want? No. Then it would take us forever to go through that list, right? Or if we wanted, let's think about this. So a binary search is much more efficient. It works with a sorted array. So let's say you have a list of 100 numbers that are multiples of 2. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, etc. You want to find the number 24. What a binary search does is it goes right to the middle of the list. And since the number in the middle is more than 24, then it searches down and it goes to the middle from 0 up to where it was when it was at the original middle of the list. So it keeps going to the middle of its grouping until it finally ends up on 24. So binary searches are an efficient way to do things if you're looking for something that's greater or lesser value. So linear search. So yeah, here's a linear search. You can see that this has, while n or a number is greater than 0, then it's going to keep going backwards. So it compares the whole array, and then it's going to subtract 1 every time, and then it's going to continue until it equals whatever the value of x is. And here's a sample of a binary search. So you can see how binary search is obviously much more coding to do a binary search. And again, that's to make it go to the middle of the group, then go to the middle of that narrowed down group, then go to the middle of that narrowed down group. Little searching practice activity. A basic searching program. So you can look at the name of the array. So the name of this array is n for number. I'm trying to see where they have that coded in here. You can see where they have N coded, unless I'm overlooking something. I must be just overlooking it, but I don't see the name of the array called the letter N in this. Now maybe you can see it, but I sure don't see it in there. Here's some notes about the program. So make sure you read those notes that they have about these different programs. Practice activity to do a search given these integers and try to look for the value of 78. You can look at the reveal the answer there. A searching quiz, so quiz previews over here as always. Then we have this project. I'm going to say don't worry about this project. I'm going to revamp this course, everyone. So don't worry about these projects or programs. So that's all I have for you. So essentially what this is just to give you answers to the write-ups. You can get that work turned in and do the quizzes for this unit. And then I'm going to revamp this course, revamp each of these units. So at least you'll learn a little bit about programming. So that's all I have to say about that for now. So be on the lookout for that revamped course starting next week. Thanks, everyone. Bye.